What's up everybody, this is Master EN Gamer, and welcome to another Overwatch news update. Today we have two topics, the first of which is an upcoming ban on loot box inclusive video games in the Netherlands, and second is a comment from Jeff on the forums discussing Winston and how much of a pain he is to animate. So without further ado, let's jump right on in. So first up, the Dutch Gaming Authority recently investigated 10 different popular video games which feature loot box systems. Their goal was to try to determine if any of these 10 games can be officially considered gambling, and if so, action would need to be taken against them. Of the 10 investigated games, 4 were in fact deemed to be illegal. These 4 were Dota 2, Rocket League, PUBG, and FIFA 18. The reason that these 4 specifically were deemed to be illegal is that the rewards from these games' loot boxes could be traded after being obtained and thus allowed for the potential to make money on resale. These games now have until June 20th, 2018 to adjust their in-game loot box systems until they fit within the parameters set by the Dutch Gaming Authority, otherwise action will be taken against them. Now, as for how Overwatch fits into this, it wasn't announced what the other 6 games investigated were. However, given that they were popular ones featuring loot boxes, Overwatch was almost definitely one of them, and while it seemingly has passed this time around, there's a chance that it won't sometime in the future. As I'm sure many of you know, there has been a pretty long ongoing push by different governments throughout the world to try and eliminate loot boxes as a form of gambling. Parts of the US, mainly Hawaii, as well as other places in Europe such as Belgium, have already recognized the Gambling Association with in-game loot boxes and have begun putting in place legislation to either remove these gambling systems entirely or at the very least restrict them into what's deemed safe, particularly for younger players. If you recall, a couple months ago, I made a video talking about how the state of Hawaii proposed an age restriction of 21 or older on games featuring loot boxes as they were considered a form of gambling. While nothing super concrete has been put into place yet when it comes to actually regulating these things, we are seeing more and more different nations and governments making more and more of an effort to try and crack down on this. As for what exactly that'll mean for us who play the games and maybe even enjoy the loot boxes in them, well, we're just gonna have to wait and see. If it does come to the point where loot boxes in general are banned, even the ones in Overwatch, then we'll likely see some sort of item system end up replacing it. This will probably vary from game to game, much like loot boxes already do currently. So as for Overwatch, well, you can only really speculate about what would end up happening. Personally, I think Overwatch probably has one of the best and most fair loot box systems out of the ones we see in the current gaming market, so I'm not necessarily on board with removing loot boxes entirely, but I will admit that many other games, such as the 4 addressed by the Dutch Gaming Authority, are a bit despicable. So again, if there are any drastic changes coming to people everywhere across the world, it probably won't be for a little while still. But you do have to wonder what sort of brave new world this might end up placing us in. I'm sure many would be very happy to see loot boxes disappear entirely, but just keep in mind that whatever ends up replacing them very well could be just as bad, if not worse. Anyways, moving on to a more lighthearted topic now, Jeff Kaplan recently posted on the Overwatch forums in response to a post talking about which hero is the hardest to animate. According to Overwatch's lead animator Ryan Denniston, Winston is the most difficult character to animate. The reason being is that he walks on all fours and has to carry his gun, which is awkward, like a suitcase. They always try to make sure that the hero's guns are aimed correctly, so keeping the gun orientation presents additional challenges. Additionally, his transformation when using his Primal Rage ultimate is very challenging from a technical standpoint, and thus puts a lot of constraints on the animators and character modelers. Overall, after reading this comment from Jeff, I wasn't very surprised to find out that Winston was the most difficult. I mean, heck, if you just take a look at his T-pose as opposed to the T-pose of any other characters, it looks quite a bit more absurd than we're used to them being. I think a lot of us oftentimes take for granted just how much work goes into something as simple as animating heroes. I, for one, am not a 3D modeler or animator, but I can tell just from the little bits that I do do know about it that it is quite a challenging task. Given that Winston is apparently the most difficult to animate, I can't help but wonder if that's played into the fact that he hasn't gotten very many legendary skins. Up until this 2018 Archives event, where he got his Specimen 28 skin, he hadn't gotten a new legendary skin since the Year of the Rooster event back in 2017. Based off of what Jeff said in this post, it seems like the animation technicalities could be a big reason that he's not quite as favored when it comes to those kinds of cosmetics as the rest of the hero cast. Overall, it's really unfortunate if it does come down to that, but I guess that's just the not perfectly fair reality that we're stuck ending up with. Anyways, that'll do it for today's Overwatch news. Thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments down below regarding anything I talked about here today, particularly with regards to these loot box restrictions which are going to be coming up pretty soon. While they don't apply to Overwatch, I'm sure many of you play the other games which were in fact deemed illegal. If you yourself are from the Netherlands, I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts on this. Otherwise though, be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe, follow me on Twitter, and turn on notifications to both help out my channel and keep up with all my future Overwatch content. This is Master Ian Gamer signing off, and until next time, have a great day.